So we need to set our machine into the threading position. So we're going to turn our dial here, then we're going to go over to our hand wheel and we're going to turn it towards us until the area over here locks. When it locks, you will no longer be able to turn the hand wheel. So we are in the locked position. Now we are going to prep the machine for a 2-thread flat lock, which is going to be on here, and we are going to be putting our thread in the lower looper. We are not going to put anything in our upper looper here, and then we are going to do 1 thread. That thread is going to be in our upper looper channel here though. So this is a slightly different threading technique from what we are used to. So I still have my threads in from my previous stitch out, so I'm just going to get those out of the way. And we're going to go ahead and start setting this up. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to grab my thread and I'm going to bring it down to my lower looper here. So here is the thread that I have in my lower looper, and I'm just going to place this right in here, snap it into our guide at the back, and then we're going to bring it down and go ahead and put it through our lower looper guy over here. Here we go. Make sure that you have a lot of excess tail thread here, and we're just going to turn this on and it's going to shoot out over here. So now I have my lower looper threaded, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to prep our needle. So I'm going to take my red thread and we're going to put that in the needle so that we can see the difference here. And I'm going to put that on the upper looper channel over here, even though this is going to go into our needle. So it's on my upper looper and in my thread stand here. And then this is where the threading gets a little bit different. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to lock this in the channel for my upper looper, but I am not going to put this in my upper looper. I'm going to bring it straight across the machine and it's going to go into my needle. It's going to go into my 01 needle, which is the needle on the left. So I'm bringing it across here and up and over, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put this into the needle. So I'm going to use my air threading for my needle. I'm going to bring this down here. Make sure that I'm on the overlock set of needles and going to bring my thread over. I'm going to grab my tweezers to do that. And all I have to do is get that close to the area where the needles are. I'm going to turn that on. And my needle is threaded. So now that we have the machine threaded in the appropriate spots, we do need to check with our settings here, and we need to make sure that we have all of this set. So according to my guide here, I need to make sure that my needle is in the 01 position. I am in the 01 position. I want to make sure that my stitch selector guy is set over here onto the A position. I'm going to make sure that I have my blade in the my upper looper selector is up. My blade position is going to get locked, so I'm going to turn my blade off over here so the blade disappears. And the next thing that I have to do is I need to engage my subsidiary looper. So we're going to come right over here, and this guy is the upper looper subsidiary dude, and it's going to go over here and it's going to slide into here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull to the right, so it's kind of spring loaded here, and then I'm going to just let it kind of hang over here and flip in place. And as soon as it flips in place, there's a little hook that's going into the eye of my upper looper. This is going to allow the thread to lock properly so that we can create the stitch that we're looking to create. So I'm all threaded up now. I just need to disengage the threading and close up my doors. So we're all threaded. We do want to make sure that we pay attention to where we have our settings. I have my stitch width at 7.5, and I have my stitch length at about 2.5 or 3. Your length is purely visual. So the stitch is going to be strong. You just have to decide how close you want your stitches to be. You will get 2 sides to this stitch. There isn't a wrong or a right side. It is completely dependent on the look that you are going for. So I'll demonstrate going wrong sides together and right sides together so that you can see what it looks like. Because we have our blade off, it's important to pay close attention to where we are putting our fabric. Your foot has many little notches on the front, so the notches correspond with our needle positions, and this opening on the side here is typically where our blade would be. So I want to make sure that I am running the fabric very close to the edge here. The closer I am to the edge here, the more likely I am to sort of get a sloppy stitch. You'll see when I'm done stitching that it's really noticeable when you don't drive straight. So I'm going to put my foot down, and I am aiming to keep my fabric in line with this notch over here. If I'm looking inside my plate here, I can look that the edge of my fabric is right inside this little hole here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start stitching. And I have some knit fabric in here, so there we go. Sometimes it takes a second to get that going. So here's what the stitch is going to look like when you're finished. So I didn't do a super great job of keeping my edges lined up over here, but the stitch itself is pretty sloppy when you first look at it. So this is completely normal. It's just going to look like this. So what happens for the particular flat locking stitch is you are going to pull your fabric. So as I pull the fabric, the look of the stitch is going to change, and I kind of have to wiggle this in order to get the 2 layers to lay flat. So this is what it looks like on the back, and this is what it looks like on the front. So this is most common for you to see on like ready-made sportswear. This is like the common look on the outside. The key to this is you kind of just have to keep wiggling the fabric in order to get everything to lay down nicely inside. Once you have it the way that you would like, then you're all set. But it does take a little bit of finessing to get the 2 layers to lay nicely on each other. And you can also use your little tools to make sure that the pieces are tucking in the direction that you want if one is giving you a little bit more grief that you would like. The stitch is very, very stretchy. It's really, really strong. And we just have 2 threads in here. The beautiful thing about it is that you don't have any rough edges, so everything is very flat. So if you have someone that has a hard time with rough textures or things like that, you can see how flat it's going to be on the bottom. The same thing is going to be true when we do a 3-thread or a narrow flat lock. You will still get the same concept. So this is construction purposes. This is done to make sure that seams are soft on the skin. You don't have any rough edges. For decorative purposes, we could change the look of the stitch by making the stitches a little bit further or a little bit closer together, and we could get some decorative threads in here, and then you could weave in and out ribbons and things like that through here. But the look of the stitch will change drastically when we start adding some of the decorative threads to our project, but they will all thread the same way. The reason that I chose to do two contrasting colors in here is because if you choose to do something decorative, it's important to know where those threads are going to lie. So the white thread is what we used in our lower looper, and the red thread is what we used in the needle. If you wanted this to be your decorative thread, you would need to make sure that you can get that through the needle of the machine. If you want this to be your decorative thread, well, it's your looper, which means you have a lot more choices with sizes of thread and different styles of threads, because it's much easier to get those through the holes in the looper than it is on our needles. So this is the basic concept of our 2-thread flat lock, and we'll thread for a 3-thread in just a moment.